Ham, can you hear us?
I can hear you. I was having audio issues, so I had
Oh,
to
damn,
bump
Ham.
out, bump back in.
I thought the trade had gone down. I thought you got a text and the trade had gone down. Damn.
Nice. Yeah.
It's never going to happen, is it? This is it. February. I don't know if I don't know if it's February 11th, but February 11th, Alvin Gentry's marching out Marvin Bagley and Buddy Hield, isn't he? It's February 12th versus the Washington Wizards in the nation's capital.
It's Queen Bee's birthday.
Yeah, I think okay. So the trade deadline is February 10th, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So we're looking at that. Yeah. You know what? Look. At some point, you got to make some deal. Like, and you don't make a deal to make a deal. We already talked about this. You make a deal because you're just not good enough, and so that's what we're hoping that we see between now and February 10th. I just wrote. It's getting weird with Philadelphia. What exactly does Philadelphia want? What do they not want? Where are they going as a franchise? So now, we're hearing reports that they want a team, specifically the Hawks or the Kings, to take back Tobias Harris and any Ben Simmons deal. And I got to be honest, like, that's fine as long as I'm not giving up Fox or Halliburton.
Well, Tobias Harris turned up injured today. Right after that report came out, Tobias Harris.
Yeah, where exactly am I going? Hang on, let me make sure the shoulder. How does the shoulder feel? Yeah, it feels much worse if I'm going to sack. I mean, I don't know. Like, look, the Kings have to be aggressive, and for my money, if you're going to have an opportunity to play it with the big boys here, you got to swing for the fences. And I'm just not giving up my two guys. I'm not giving up Halliburton. I'm not giving up Fox. If I'm taking on what amounts to $150 million in payroll over the next 2 seasons, not including this season, and then an additional $40 million after that in Ben Simmons in the third year of his deal after this season. So that's a lot of money if you're giving up all of your core to get there, because what are you going to do once you take on all that money? You're going to have to do something, and you can't sign players. You can't bring anyone in. You're basically locking yourself in. So yeah, I'm listening. I'm willing to give up a couple of picks, willing to give up Harrison Barnes and Buddy Hield. And I think there's even a potential for Marvin Bagley to get swapped to Portland, and like you could throw Robert Covington into that deal, and it all would make a lot of sense. Those 3 players with a couple of firsts, and take back Tobias and Ben Simmons and run forward.
I like Tobias Harris. I feel like I thought King's Twitter was down on that report, but I'm good with that.
Yeah. So Tobias is like a slight upgrade over Harrison Barnes, but at more than twice the money. I mean, the money for him is absolutely crazy. So you're paying, it's almost $80 million left on his contract. And that's just a ton of cash. So, I mean, you've got to be cautious about making that trade, because realistically, you can't give up so much that you have no flexibility moving forward. Because if you're already giving up a couple of firsts, sure, you got Simmons in the deal as well. But I think it's a high price to pay for Simmons, but it's a price that, as far as like for me, I would be willing to pay. And the salary cap is going up to 119 million next year, which means the luxury tax is going up to like 145. I did the math. If you made that deal, you could still stay under the luxury tax next season with the current players that you have under roster. And then after that, you're going to have to make some tough decisions down the road. But I think you can maneuver with that group.
James, help me out here, because the media is unfairly categorizing me as somebody that wants Richaun Holmes out of here. And this is why I don't talk to the media. This is why I don't like the media, because they twist my words around. Did not say that.
That's what I heard.
But help me out here with this one, because number one, I feel like if I don't want to give up Fox or Halliburton, if I want to get something of some type of impact, unfortunately, because I do want him around, I feel like Richaun Holmes is going to be somebody that you have to look at as a potential trade guy. Then I came with the possible revelation of, we talk about Monty not being active and not doing anything. Is there a a possibility that he's waiting for January 15th? We all thought it was what? What was the day?
December
December
15th.
15th.
Yeah, we all thought it was that. He could be waiting for January 15th, and maybe that's one of the moves he's looking to make.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think anything is off the table. I mean, that's where we're at, right? And let's be honest. I mean, Rashawn Holmes' value is not super high as a player for this season because he's already missed 16 games. His value is that you signed him to a 4-year deal that's very, very team friendly. To be honest, I would keep him just because he is so team friendly. And if I'm trading him, I'm taking back a first round pick. So again, this is where we get to that point. If you are going to trade Rashawn Holmes, then you should also be packaging Harrison Barnes, and like Harrison Barnes should go, and you should get rid of a bunch of your veterans at that point, and just say, hey, look, we're going to take back a bunch of first round picks, and we're going to start to play for this year's Kings first round pick, and that's kind of who we are now. We're going to start over to a soft or a hard reboot during the summer. Build around Halliburton, maybe Fox, and really just like break this thing open. I don't think that's a horrible idea. It's why I keep telling you guys, either go all in or sell, sell. And you can't do what's in the middle, because what's in the middle is more the same, and it's more of the bad basketball that we're watching. You have to do something drastic one way or another, and I don't see any middle ground. But then again, maybe they do try to wait until after the season, and at that point, again, I've said this repeatedly: who are you letting make that decision if you wait till after the season? Because 2 years of inactivity, 2 off seasons, 2 trade deadlines, that's ample time to change a roster that is clearly broken. It's ample time, and I don't know how you just keep running the same thing out there.
Ham, if you go that route and you sell, aren't you, obviously you're done this year. Aren't you done next year?
Well,
Like, aren't you done for a while? Like this, like
Yeah.
this is a long road ahead. This isn't like, okay, we're going to be better next year. Like it's over. Like we're packing it up for the next, at the very least, year and a half. I mean, probably longer, but at least year and a half.
No, you're talking 2 or 3 seasons. I mean, that's what it is. I mean, that's what you're doing. And so that's where it's so difficult, because we're watching the arena empty out. Like, you can't just keep being bad and that being like the status quo. So, but at a certain point, you got to understand that your core isn't good enough, and that you can't keep running the same guys out there and expecting something different. So that could mean that you have to change directions completely, and try for something different, and let someone else have a turn at trying that something different, as opposed to, when you did this once before, it was Vlade. You did it once before. I think, Pete had some draft picks as well. But at this point, I really do hope that they do something, because the inactivity is just crazy to me.
Yeah. So you think somebody like Rashawn packaging, because that to me that seems like a lot. Packaging Holmes and Barnes is only going to get you like some picks. That's not going to get you back anybody. Like I don't think it could be to this team or whatever, but I'm higher, I guess, on Cram Reddish than other people, and not necessarily as a guarantee, but as the type of prospect that you take a chance on that could develop into one of your top players. Like, you get something like that. Like, I don't know if that's necessarily selling. That's a risk. That's a gamble you may hit and end up being a better team with. Like, now, not 2-3 years from now. Now.
Yeah, I mean, look, anytime Reddish gets an opportunity, he plays pretty well. He's also surrounded by a bunch of professional, NBA players. I think if you took him on, it would be like a low risk, high reward situation. I wouldn't think that it's anything other than that. Like, to like really think that guy is going to come in and on a good team be anything more than a number 4 or 5. And that, even to me, is a stretch at this point. That would be generous. Now, there's potential that he could jump up and be something much better, but none of that is guaranteed. And so if you're making a move like that, like, it's Cam Reddish to match salaries and some other guys to match salaries. and then a bunch of picks, and then picks, because he's not in the same ballpark as Harrison Barnes at this point, and that's a team that already has salary cap issues and stuff like that. So like what we talked about, like Cam Reddish and Gallinari for, say, Harrison Barnes and Tristan Thompson, the Kings need a first round pick in that. Gallinari's shot, and he's guaranteed at $5 million next year, and you're buying him out. He's not part of the future. He's not playing out that last year of his contract, where Harrison Barnes is under contract next year at $18 million, but he's playing 35 minutes a game. So you're making another team better. We're talking about
in a position they need.
Yeah, substantially helping another team, and you taking a flyer on a young player and a pick. And so I think that that's a risk. But at this point, like, that can't be like your end all be all. Like, and I don't mean packaging, like taking Holmes and Barnes and going out and getting one player. I mean, if you're gonna trade Holmes, you better also trade Harrison Barnes. Like, it doesn't have to be the
I
same
think you should
deal.
try and trade in first.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
that's like taking a substantial step back and saying, look, we're done, and we're just gonna try something different here,
Mhm.
and we're gonna completely shatter our core and go a different direction. If you're gonna do that, you got to trade those two guys, and you got to trade Buddy Hield. You got to find someone to take Buddy Hield.
Yeah,
And
that's
then
top
you
of the
start
list.
over. Yeah, well, yeah, but then you start over, right? So, like, and I would hope that in that scenario that they don't trade Fox as well. But these guys are in a tough spot. It's not just the playoff thing that's ticking over their head. It's an empty building. It's everything. It's all starting to come to a head. Like, you really hope that it wouldn't. And
an empty building that may get emptier. We'll explain what that means after the recent episode of the Kings Beat podcast. We'll talk about that. Plus, some good news already, and it's only Wednesday. Good news for 49er fans. Good news for Kenny Caraway.
Oh.
We'll explain what we just found out here as D'Lo and KC, brought to you by McQueen and the Violet Fog. The smoothest gin in the world, handcrafted in Brazil, continues with James Ham here on ESPN 1320. All right.
I'll be right back.
yeah,
Okay.
you're coming in low again. I don't know what the problem is. Like, I couldn't hear you at all earlier.
Me?
Yeah, like you started to fade there on my end, so I'm not sure what's happening. But
I'm not sure. I'll turn my volume up a little bit.
I can also try to turn my volume. No, my volume's at 92, so it shouldn't be that.
Volume up a little bit. Maybe
Sure
that'll
it's
help.
not shouldn't be my FB. It's pretty basic. All right. Well, hopefully we figure it out.
I'll do the show like this, James.
Even that, like, cut in and out.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah. So it was loud, and then it wasn't. Then it was loud. Yeah.
No, that sounds like an internet problem. That's no good. Let me.
Now you are a little bit cutting in and out.
Let me try something, James. Entertain everybody. Hang on.
I'm entertaining people. Let's see. Let's go through the chat here. What core? Yeah, you do still have a core. I know the core isn't very good, but at this point, you do still have a core. Oh, now Damian's in a different position.
I gotta move everything back. Did that help at all?
Yes, that did help.
Okay. All right.
I believe that helped. So
hopefully it did. We've dealt with enough work at home problems that you could legit just say, dude, I didn't hear anything you said, and Kenny can repeat it.
Sweet. Yeah, like, that's why I ducked out, because, like, right away I could hear you really faint in the beginning, and then when he went to talk, I couldn't hear anything at all. So I'm like, yeah. Hey, Terrence, you're the great King Queta. I'm all in.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. That's on the list to talk about.
Yeah.
Neemias.
Yes, and Bob Hatchie, if you see me on the street, you can't ask for a selfie. You just have to make sure it's me, because if not, that's awkward. I told you I got a new puppy, right?
Oh, you didn't? No.
We got a baby corgi.
Oh, love it. Love it, love it, love it. That's awesome.
She's running around here somewhere. She's trouble.
So how many you have? Is that 3 or 2? 3.
3. So we have the corgi, we have the pug, and then we have a big golden.
Oh, that's awesome, man.
Yeah,
that's
we
awesome.
picked her up on Sunday. Yeah, it was such a bad day that that's what I started tweeting out puppy pics on
It's good
Sunday.
stuff. That
Yeah,
was good
Damian
stuff.
Lillard will undergo surgery on Thursday for his abdominal injury and will be sidelined indefinitely. Yeah, they're basically shutting him down
They're
for most of, if not the whole season.
yeah.
Yeah, everything I'm hearing is they're going.
I feel like you sneaky had that like 3 days ago. Where you're like, they're gonna try to shut Dame Lillard down.
Yeah, they're gonna do a whole bunch of stuff.
Mm.
Yeah, they're like, again, I think I've heard some rumors of, you know, the Kings and Portland in some swap conversation.
Mm.
Yeah, some player swaps just
I
because.
like Covington.
Yeah,
I
there,
do like Covington.
but he's not. I
But
mean, is that the difference?
I
Yeah,
like Covington as a player, like a
yeah,
move.
yeah,
Okay, tune up the roster. Covington is good. I just need to see more.
yeah. And they're over the cap by a little bit. So by moving off of Covington and say a swap for someone around that price range, but who's a little bit less, they'll slide under the luxury tax. From what I know, they're like super close to the luxury tax, within like less than $1 million of the luxury tax. So yeah, but
I think more than anything that like solidifies if everything we've heard about Daryl Morey is true, Ben Simmons isn't getting traded this year.
I don't know. We'll see.
He's gonna he's just gonna sit it out and wait and see if he can get Dame Lillard in the offseason.
Yeah, but I don't think Dame is going anywhere.
I don't think so either.
No, I think their plan is to build around those guys.
Plural, as in CJ?
No, build
Oh.
around Dame, but Dame and Simmons and Little.
Ah, yeah.
They love Little, so I wouldn't be surprised to see CJ go. I wouldn't.
Yeah.
And Nurkic is not part of their plan moving forward. I wouldn't be surprised to see him go. I would get in on Larry Nance. I like Larry Nance. He would fit the Kings, what they do. But not a great shooter. So yeah, lots of moving pieces that I think the league is in for like a wild ride here. But we always think that, and then nothing happens.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, and the Blazers are not moving away from Simmons. Simons.
Hang on.
Yep.
I'm telling you, man, if you're on Odyssey, you're on 1320 AM. It's a great place to be. We love that you're listening, but sometimes you just might want to go back later in the evening and catch up on twitch.tv/ESPN1320 and youtube.com/ESPN1320, because we get some newsworthy nuggets there during the commercial breaks, as we were talking about the news that Dame Lillard is going to be shut down indefinitely with an abdominal surgery coming up on Thursday. James, we'll dive into that and what it may mean for Portland. I do want to mention this because I mentioned it before the break. Trent Williams did not practice today for the San Francisco 49ers, but that does not matter. Trent Williams says he is playing on Sunday, despite the fact that he did not practice. I think we kind of felt that all along, though I was really surprised that he didn't play on Sunday, which, is an indication that elbow strain, I think they called it, is probably a little bit more a little bit worse than they originally imagined. But Trent Williams did not practice today, but he told folks at ESPN he gonna play on Sunday. Take that arm up, do what you got to do. Trent Williams gonna play on Sunday.
You see the smile. You see the smile. Everybody on the YouTube, you see the smile, man, because we need Trent Williams, though, and Parsons and Gregory, all these guys, Lawrence, like we need him, and he's gonna beat him. I love the 49ers team. I love this 49ers team, the 2021 team. I love these guys.
You're crazy. I would love them if they would have signed any defensive back other than Josh Norman. But outside of that,
out there.
They're going to be
Richard Sherman.
They're going to be limited. Yeah, but they should have gone and attacked that position during the offseason. They knew they had a weakness, and then it just got worse and worse and worse. And you gotta spend high picks on those guys. You got to go out and be aggressive. And I would. I think that's the flaw to this 49ers team. It's a passing league, and you got a bunch of guys that can put pressure on the ball up front, but you just don't have the defensive backfield to keep up with a lot of these teams.
It's a little cap, James. It's a little cap. Little cap.
That means it's a lie, James. Cap
I
is a
think the
lie.
secondary. Look, I've been saying it. I've been saying it since about week 3. Secondary is better than people give him credit for. As a top 10 passing defense in the game, Emmanuel Mosley is a starting cornerback in this league, and the other side you're figuring out.
Yeah, but I don't want to figure that out against the Chiefs in the Super Bowl.
Okay, Super Bowl.
I'd still and like CeeDee Lamb, Dakota Prescott. We'll see what happens.
With some
We'll see what
bad
happens.
boys.
And I'm not going to diminish Amari Cooper either. So the
I like Cedric
secondary. I'm kind of in the middle of both of you. I think the secondary has, like I expected them to be, especially after some things we saw, was an absolute disaster. They've been less than that. The front has been really, really, really good. And I think that's helped kind of position this 49ers defense. So it's going to be a great game on Sunday. We're obviously looking forward to it. I do want to get to the news that we just got on Portland. But since we're talking about the 49ers and the Cowboys, Sunday at 1:30, the business of basketball over on the Kings Beat podcast, James Ham and Sean Cunningham brought up, I don't know what the Golden One Center is going to look like on Sunday when it's the Rockets versus the Sacramento Kings at the same time the 49ers and the Cowboys are playing in a wild card playoff game.
Yeah, that's a bad break. But then again, I mean, I'm kind of one of those people that say, in this world, you make your own luck. And they've made their own luck for sure. And so they don't have a chance to compete. I mean, you're still going to get, well, I mean, maybe you get 5, maybe you get 6,000 fans there. I mean, that's tough. But
you thought the number the other night was 5, right?
What? Yeah, no, I think that the other night, maybe 65, 70, 7,000 fans, like the number 12,000 that was put out there. Not even close. I mean, and I know that one game this season, it was 8,200 that came through the turnstiles, and that's with them giving away like thousands of tickets. Yeah, like they have a problem. They have a huge problem, and that's why I keep saying, like, you have to make a splash, and it can't just be like, not to disrespect you, Kenny. It can't just be Cam Reddish. That's not going to move any needle outside of you. You will keep showing up and like, hey, or you might start showing up. You might start buying tickets and going to a game to go see Cam Reddish, but like, it's got to be something bigger than that, or tear it down, because you're not gonna be able to sell seats anyways. And I don't even. You need to push for the playoffs, but it can't be like this backing up. It can't have like the beep 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 the entire time that's drowning out what's happening on the court.
Well, and with that though, you've got to, like, if you're bringing somebody back, you can't have your cake and eat it too. Not you, just the Kings. But you can't say, and I don't know if they're saying this, but if you want something big, you have to move Fox or Halliburton. But if you don't, it's Harrison, Holmes, and it's probably your first rounder or a first rounder like next year, and that'll get you. So we've established that, but then that'll get you. I don't know, because I don't know who's available.
I'm taking, like, if I'm a team that's looking to rebuild at all, the Kings are one of the first teams I'm going to for draft picks. If you think you can get draft picks out of the Kings, it's going to cost you. It's going to cost you like core pieces to get draft picks from the Kings, because they're just so valuable. I mean, the Kings have missed playoffs 15 consecutive seasons. Like, they're always in the top 10. What of the last, since 2006, how many times have they been below pick number 10? I can remember Jason Thompson was like number 12. Halliburton was number 12. I think that's it.
Yeah, I about to say it might be it.
I think that's it. Everything else is 9 or lower. Spencer Hawes, I think, was 10, right? Ooh. Yeah, and everything
King's
else
legend.
King's legend, Spencer Hawes. Everything else is below. So, like, this is a team, if you're going to go get draft capital, it's even if you can turn it this summer before the Kings do anything else to improve or do anything to the roster. That's why I think with Philadelphia, it makes so much sense. You go out and you get the Kings' first round pick for this coming year, or for 2023 as well. Now you start using that with Buddy Hield's expiring contract, with other things, to go get the player that you actually want. because that's a ton of draft capital. And, that's why if the Kings are going to do that, if they're going to give up their picks, they've got to get gold back. They've got to get difference makers that are between 24 and 27 and under contract for 3 to 4 years. That's what you have to do. That's why the only reason I would possibly give up picks is for a guy like Ben Simmons, who's 25 years old, or for who's under contract for 3 more years after this year, or Domantas Sabonis, who's I think 25, 26, but also under contract for another 3 years. These are the guys that I would chase. I would chase big names like that because that's how you build something better by cashing in your chips now for a future for, what can help you now and make you a better team. And I still don't know if you can get there.
Wow. That was just a late kick in the groin. Like that might not even be good enough. Jeez.
No, I mean, I think even with Simmons, if you look at Simmons, like he hasn't played in 7 months.
Sure. No, I got you.
You're looking at like a couple of weeks. It's not, he's not going to pop up and like all of a sudden be the difference maker, like on Friday, if you trade for him today. Like he's going to need time for sure. And, if not, do a bunch of smaller moves. Do a bunch of smaller moves that clear out the veterans, that chip away at your core and change things around, that bring in picks and bring in a couple of young players.
Real quick, Damien, I'm going to say this, though. The smaller move, this is kind of like where we're at with these guys. Because in theory, I understand what you're saying as far as these guys aren't moving the needle. It's not working. It's not going to get you nowhere. These guys that we're getting rid of, they're for sure not getting you anywhere. The Kings are like falling with these guys. There's almost nowhere to go but up. You know what I mean? So if you did move a Barnes and Holmes for Reddish, Outcast, speaker box level below, can't get no lower. Like you almost are forced to go up. You know what I mean? So like by not that these guys are Buddy and Bagley, but it's almost an addition by subtraction because this group is just so dead. They're so done. Like you get some new blood in here, some new energy, and that might lift things up.
I think there is addition by subtraction on this team, but it's not Barnes or Holmes. And so, like, again, if I'm trading Harrison Barnes, I want value. He's under contract for another year at $18 million. It's actually, like, dollar amount wise, he's actually a budget price for next season for someone else who can take advantage of what he brings to the table. Like, again, we talk about Tobias Harris. He's a notch below Tobias, but not a substantial notch below Tobias. And he's half price, like literally half the price of Tobias Harris. So that's a player that people would want. I mean, Boston came after him hard last year, but again, they were throwing all kinds of junk out there, trying to get him, just not very good picks. I've got to, if I'm going to trade him, it's got to be to a team that can take advantage of his skills the next 2 years and are willing to give up something. Like I don't know that Harrison Barnes is the piece that puts the Memphis Grizzlies over the top, but I do know he makes the Memphis Grizzlies a better team. And, I think there are teams like that are sitting at that range where they're like, look, we need a really, really solid NBA top 5 rotation, maybe top 4 rotation player. Harrison Barnes still fits that mold for a lot of teams around the league. I think he makes the Atlanta Hawks a better team. Like there are a lot of teams around the league that look at him and say, okay, like I'm down with Harrison Barnes for 2 years at, he's making, I think 20 this year and 18 next year. That doesn't, you're not giving him up for nothing. And so again, I just don't, there are additions by subtraction. He's just not one of them. And Holmes certainly isn't one of them. Right. Holmes is just having a really bad luck year, and you hope that it gets better.
You're listening to D'Lo and KC along with 1320 Kings insider James Ham here on ESPN 1320 KIFM West Sacramento, KRXQ HD2 Sacramento, an Odyssey station and driven by last year's Elk Grove Dodge. Since we're talking about trades, I feel like Sean Cunningham was addressing me on the latest edition of the Kings Beat podcast because Sean Cunningham said there are people in the city of Sacramento who believe Monty McNair is sitting around doing nothing. Now, again, Sean Cunningham didn't address me by name, but he's very clearly talking about me because that's exactly how I feel. I'm curious to get your thoughts. What do you think is happening inside the walls of the Sacramento Kings front office personnel right now?
I think they have a giant like set of whiteboards and they're writing all over the place and they're making phone calls nonstop and they're trying to get something done. I do not think that they're just sitting around, but at the same time, they have so many things weighing against them. They have a meddlesome owner who allegedly has given them, all of
The
the
green light.
yeah, the green light to go trade whoever they want. We all know that that's not actually the case. Like when it really comes down to it, you're still going to have to get approval. They have an arena that's emptying out. They have a team that's, even though they're not good at all, it's only a game and a half out of the 10th seed. So you still have that thing just sitting there that if you hit that, then you're the guy who cracked the nut in Sacramento. And so I think that there's a lot going up against these guys. Are you taking a step forward or are you taking a step back? Do you think that Halliburton is ready to take over and you can move De'Aaron Fox? These are all like tremendously franchise altering decisions. If you trade De'Aaron Fox and this team dies on the vine and you get back, let's say you try to get value for Fox, not picks, but value, and you're going out and getting players for him, and those players don't work and you don't make the playoffs this season, and it doesn't look like you're some shoe-in for next year, then you're not going to be around. And you also you hamstrung a franchise on the way out the door. Oh, sorry, we gave up your best player who's 24 years old and averaged 25-7 last year. We just gave him away, even though he's under contract for another 4 seasons. He's gone now, and so am I, but, good luck with that. So I think you have all of these things. Again, I keep talking about trading draft picks. If I'm trading draft picks, then I'm swinging for the fences. And it's not just a deal that impacts this year. It's a deal that impacts next year, the year after that. And that's, again, we keep coming back to Ben Simmons. That's why I think the Kings keep coming back to Ben Simmons. And even if you got to take on Tobias Harris is a really good player. He's an upgrade. He's paid an obscene amount of money for what he is and who he is. But if you can still fit it under your salary cap, then you might as well do it if you're getting Simmons back, because that's a core piece that could change things for years to come. That could elevate you not from, an 11, 12 to a 10 or a 9 seed. That's a move that next year makes you look like a 6 seed. And you're a team that opposing teams should be worried about. And so I think that's what you're looking at here. Do you let Monty McNair swing? Do you let him trade away your 24-year-old? Do you what is it that you're going to allow him to do? Because the impact of it will be felt literally for years. There's a good chance it could be felt for a long, long time. You could not find another player like De'Aaron Fox in the next 5 drafts. You could not get a player that's that good. And you can't guarantee that Tyrese Halliburton is that good. You can't. He still averages 13 points a game. So, what are you swinging with? How exactly are you going to fix this thing? And do you have the pieces to the puzzle to put together now, to put it together this summer? How much is it going to cost you? This is all high stakes poker here. And we'll see how he handles it. He hasn't been in this situation before. And now, because he was inactive before, the heat is only hotter at this point. He's feeling it.
As he should. I mean, I talked about this all summer long. Damian did as well. This is what we're seeing right now as a fan base, and people that follow the team that report on the team, is unacceptable. And it's not an easy job, and there's a lot of things that goes on, and it takes 2 to tango or whatever. But we're not trying to hear that. We're fair or not, we're not trying to hear that. You should feel the pressure if you're Monty McNair. I want to go back to something that we talked about a little bit with Richaun Holmes, and I brought it up talking about was he waiting for January 15th maybe to move on from him, even if he's not really looking to move on from him per se. Me and Damian got into the conversation earlier. Do you think he was kind of caught off guard that Rashawn Holmes was back on this roster this season? Did he expect him to be gone and maybe prepared and started to plan things for him to be gone? And the fact that he came back kind of fell in his lap and he hasn't adjusted to that yet?
Okay, so yeah, they did not know that Holmes would be back at all. They were worried he would not be back, but that doesn't mean that they did things that were outlandish. I think the DeLon Wright trade for Tristan Thompson, it looks so bad now, but if you lost Holmes, would it really? Because you could have used Tristan Thompson for 20 minutes a game this season if you lost Holmes. And the fact that he's not playing is more a function of the other players you have who play more like Holmes or are like gigantic, tall people, big body people. I think that there is a very, like, I know I had conversations with him specifically. They weren't sure. The reason why they made the deal for Tristan Thompson was specifically because they thought there was a good chance they were going to lose Holmes. The fact that they kept Holmes is just crazy. It's one of the biggest like anomalies I've seen in free agency. Robert Williams got more money than Rashawn Holmes. I mean, like there are a lot of players who got more money. Even Jared Allen. Jared Allen got twice as much as Rashawn Holmes. He's not twice as good. That's just not the case. And like again, I'm just reading the chat while we go along, and people say, "Hey, why are you so high on Fox? Fox has never won anything." The best player Fox has ever played with is Harrison Barnes. That's it. It's the best player he's ever played with. If somehow you were to make a move with Philadelphia and you brought in Ben Simmons and Tobias Harris, those would be the best two players he's ever played with. So, like, the reason why some players don't succeed is because you don't put the right pieces around them. Instead of bringing back even an Alex Len, you sign a Hassan Whiteside who just stands in the key and destroys everything. Like, these are moves that matter. Instead of having a Bogdan Bogdanovic for him to pass to, you go into a whole season without a player like that at all, without a five-tool player to put next to him. And so that's why I don't understand how anyone, including Monty McNair, would consider trading a dude who just turned 24 is under contract for another 4 seasons and who averaged 25 and 7. You fix what your problem is as a team, and you put the pieces around him to support him, and he'll be just fine.
You were talking about Rashawn Holmes. You made you mentioned Tristan Thompson not playing because of the other guys kind of at that position who are big bodies who are playing with Rashawn Holmes out. So let's stick there. Let's talk about Neemias Queta, the newest favorite Sacramento King out there in the universe. What did you think of Queta's first major minutes in the NBA a couple of nights ago?
Yeah, I absolutely love him. Yeah, I think he is going to be a big time player. And I don't mean that as in he's going to be an all-star, but big body, soft hands. Like, is it just me or did he step on the court and he already understood defense better than any of their other bigs?
Felt like it.
Is it just me? Did he set a better pick than any other big on their team? Like, how does that happen? How does a kid pop up and all of a sudden he can do everything that you needed, all of these other guys to do? He can do it. And I don't know. I think we haven't even seen his jumper yet. He's got a pretty 18-foot jumper. I've watched him shoot and hit from the corner, just super smooth. He can block shots. We didn't see him block a lot of shots in this game, but he's adjusting to playing against not only NBA talent, but a team with 3 legitimate 7-footers. I think that he probably is the future of the Kings at the center position. Probably not next season. I think he'll probably split time next season, but the year after that, you're going to see him taking a much bigger step. He's a guy you can run the ball through. And I don't think that the Kings have had that in a long time, since Cousins probably, where you had a big man that you could actually run the ball through. And I like what they're trying to do with him, where they're giving him a taste and then they're putting him in the G League and they're letting him completely succeed at the G League level, build his confidence, keep his body in shape, but then bring him up and keep giving him little tastes at a time so he can start to realize what he needs to work on and how he can get better. And I think he's going to be a rotational player. I think he's going to be very, very solid. And he needs this summer to really, really define his body, because we even saw it. He went up for a block against a smaller player on a fast break and almost hurt himself in the game against Cleveland on Monday. And he needs just another summer to tighten it up with a professional training staff. And I'll say this too: like if Tristan Thompson is on this team on February 10th, he's not going to be there February 12th or February 13th. Like, he's a big time buyout candidate at this point, because let's get to the second half of the season. If you're not truly in it, then it's time for Damian Jones. It's time for, you spent money on Alex Len. It's time for Queta it's time for you to start looking and start figuring out what you have in these guys. And that's usually when you do it after the All-Star break. Once you figure out what you're going into the second half with, now, is there a reason for him to be here? And could you maybe get him to take $1 million or $2 million less so he can go and play for a playoff team and get some money back? And I think that the Kings will consider that, like they will definitely consider that in the second half of the season. He was brought in as an insurance policy. You haven't used him really as that insurance policy. And then you're probably going to cash that insurance policy in here anytime.
Yeah.
Sorry, Kenny. All I got out of that was Tristan's going to be cut in time for Valentine's Day. Just everybody take note. Tristan.
Or he's going to be bought out in time for Valentine's Day. He's got money to spend.
Hey
Yeah.
now. Hey now.
But also like
Valentine's Day.
The Kings are going to shop him heavily, right? Like, he's going to be shopped heavily between now and
I would think that expiring contract's probably pretty valuable for somebody.
Yeah, $9.5 million expiring contract, and a big man who can step in, who knows how to play on. So if you're a playoff team and he's part of a bigger package, like, you would take him and say, okay, look, if something happens to our center, or if we need someone to play some spot minutes, then you've got him sitting there, and you know that he's a good, solid locker room guy. Players like him. They listen to his voice. He's got some, championship experience and stuff like that. And this isn't like, it's not a jab on him. I'm just saying, you got five centers on this roster. He's the odd man out if he isn't moved. And, for that matter, I wouldn't even be shocked if Tristan Thompson and Alex Len were both moved at the deadline. If you can move Len, he's got another $4 million left on the contract, I think, for next year. But you clearly at this point are moving a different direction from those guys. And if Holm was here, one or two of those guys wouldn't be in the rotation at all.
What's the well, first of all, we good, Dame?
Yeah, I'm done making Tristan Thompson jokes. Yeah.
I didn't mean that. I mean, we go with the clock.
Oh, yeah, we go. We ride. Go ahead.
Good. What's the deal with Terrence Davis? Is it simply because they want him to play and he's not in a consistent rotation here, or is there something more to that?
I'll be honest with you. I totally heard that in Jerry Seinfeld's voice. What is the deal with Terrence Davis? That maybe you probably have no idea who Jerry Seinfeld is.
No,
My bad.
I absolutely know. No, I haven't watched the show too many times. I can say that. Like I said, it comes on. I see it. I know the relevance of it. I know how people love it. Yeah. I ain't sat down and watched it, but that's just me.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
I'll watch that before I watch Friends, though.
That's true.
Yeah. Well, every once in a while, I got to get my jab in. Yeah. So I Terrence is in a tough spot. He's in a spot where we talk about this all the time, where he is a mistake player, and the mistakes he made the other night, that's some next level, like Don Piano stuff, like from Sesame Street, where you're just banging your head on the piano screaming. Like the foul, the turnovers, everything. He's totally rusty. So the Kings sent him down to the G League yesterday to just get a practice in. Him and Rashawn both went to the G League just to get a practice in. They'll be back today. Terrence he missed a ton of time. Like, so between COVID and then, he came back, but he was coming back off an ankle injury during the COVID, and then he played for a couple of games, but Then he was out of the rotation one game, and then the ankle started hurting him. And so next thing you know, he missed like, 2.5 weeks or something. He's just really rusty. And I think, again, if there's a way for the Kings to trade Buddy Hield at the deadline, it opens up the spot for him to be the microwave, for Terrence Davis to be the microwave for this team.
Mhm.
As of right now, there just isn't enough balls to go around. You know what I mean? There's not enough shots. There's not enough usage rate. There's not enough anything to go around. And I liked him as a starting three. I thought that the Kings were really exciting and good during that small stretch. They
Mhm.
went away from it. They've gone back to conventional bigs because they're not rebounding well enough. And so I, I don't know. Like, he's under contract for another year. If he was traded at the deadline, I wouldn't just be completely shocked at all. That would be something that, if you can get some value for him, you would. Again, nothing is off the table here in Sacramento, but at the same time, like, there just isn't a space for a fifth guard right now in this team. And even finding minutes for Davion, if he's not playing extremely well, is becoming less and less. Like, if you're going to try to win games, Alvin Gentry doesn't need to go to 11 or 12 guys. He actually needs to shrink down to like 7 or 8 guys and try to win a couple of games. And he hasn't done that yet, but there could come a point where he has no other choice. He's tried everything else. He's tried to go deep, deep, deep into the bench, and that doesn't help either. So, I think Terrence is a victim of the situation, and the fact that the 3-guard set just didn't work. It didn't work at all. And so that means that guys like him and Buddy and Davion are fighting for scraps behind Ty and De'Aaron. And that's not a place you'd want to be, because both those guys are 30 to 35 minute a game guys.
Mhm.
You I think I know the answer. Do you think Rashawn goes tonight?
No, I think he's out.
He's out.
I think, to be honest with you, I hadn't checked the latest injury report. But last time I did, he was doubtful as of yesterday. But I believe that he's listed as out for tonight. That could change. But I think the thing that I remember seeing was he was listed as out on G League assignment. And I know that that's not the case. Like, he will be brought back off a G League assignment.
Yeah,
So,
he's out. Yeah, I'm sorry.
No,
I thought that meant he was, and obviously we know he's out of health and safety protocols.
yeah.
I figured it was a slight chance he'd go tonight. More likely he'd go Friday, but no,
Yeah.
he's out. You're right. Yep.
And Damian Jones is still out.
Mhm.
And so, and Tristan Thompson's questionable with the quad injury. I think it's very possible that we're going to see more Nemi tonight.
I guess it might be worth noting Damian Jones is the last of the health and safety protocol outs.
Yeah. Well, I mean, for now, I think we're up to.
Yeah, for now.
Yeah.
For now.
I mean, really, that's the way we're looking. Omicron is trying to burn itself out, but it's already gone through 10 Kings players, right?
Mhm.
We were down to like 7 players. We were trying to figure this out the other night, who were the 7, and you get lost in it. But, it's like Buddy, Ty, Harrison. Those guys haven't had it at this point. Jemias, Robert.
It's amazing. Buddy just
Yeah.
Buddy just avoids it. Just good to go. Nothing to see here.
Even if he
Incredible.
did get it, he probably just blew right through it.
That is an amazing thing about him. He does not miss basketball games.
No, he doesn't. Yeah. So, I mean, it's an anomaly. He doesn't miss. That's one good thing about Buddy. He works really, really hard. People and people should know I don't dislike Buddy Hield. I actually think he's a fun dude. He's actually always been, solid to me behind the scenes. But that doesn't mean that I don't think the Kings would be better with him on a different team. I think they would be. And anyway,
I don't think anybody dislikes Buddy Hield. I really believe that. Like, I haven't had a long conversation with him, but I've talked to him on a couple of occasions. Super pleasant, super nice. You know what I mean? Funny dude when I'm in the locker room. I don't think anybody dislikes Buddy Hield. He's a good human being. He's a good I think he's a good basketball player. Yeah. I don't think he's a good basketball player for this team at all. At all. He's bad for this team and this franchise. That's not his fault or anything like that, but he's bad for this team and this franchise.
I think his personality can wear on you. Like I know that like previous coaches have said that, because he can't calm down in specific situations, and he stresses people out a little bit because it's constant. Like he doesn't stop talking, and so he does wear you out a little bit. But that doesn't mean they dislike him. They just, it's hard to be around someone all the time, as much as these guys are around each other. And, everyone has their little idiosyncrasies that wear you out. I think it is. I mean, I'm sure you guys, there are things that you guys do that wear on each other. And then every once in a while you have like a little scene behind the scene where you're like, hey, you gotta stop doing this. Maybe you don't. Maybe you don't. But like
we don't even do it behind the scenes. We just do it on the radio.
yeah. Well, I mean,
Content, baby, content.
yeah, that is content. Yeah, like
I got a problem with you, and we're gonna address it on the show.
Yeah,
that's right. I usually I usually sit in my seat here waiting for Sean for like 30-35 minutes. Like there's an occasion when he's late, which is
tough.
like every time, but it's okay. I love him, and I love doing the pod with him and all that stuff. But you know what? We all have our things that we do.
My best friend is late for everything, and it's like it's just a bit now. It's maddening.
My mother-in-law's always late. Always an hour late.
Let's bring a commercial conversation to the air here. As we got alerted while we've been talking, we've addressed it. Dame Lillard's out indefinitely. Chris Haynes at Yahoo Sports says he'll be reevaluated in 6 to 8 weeks, so he's not even getting looked at again for another damn near 2 months. And you, without saying this, kind of said it a couple of days ago, in that you think that the Blazers were going to try to shut Lillard down for the season and go to work and see what they could do with that roster and change some things. What do you think the impact is of Dame Lillard being out on Portland now?
Well, I don't know. They just waxed the Kings.
Sure did.
They beat them by like 15, right?
But Dame Lillard had 31, right? Wasn't that Dame that had 31?
No. It was the one guy that you knew would be shooting threes, who you gave up 7 makes to. Yeah, like, look, when you give a young player like Simons a chance, I think he's really talented. We've seen him trash the Kings in the past. He's very, very talented. He's just been hiding behind 2 guards for a long time, and it's not even like I think the Terrence Davis thing. He's like a mini CJ or a mini Dame. And I think he can really, really get on a heater here and be good. And, they clearly want to play for a draft pick. And that's why I think you're going to see them clear out almost all their veterans, just like, a couple other teams. They want to play for a draft pick. They want to take a step back. There's no question. But they don't want to take a step back that they can't recover from. So I do.
They want to take a step back, but the Kings won't let them.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's the horrible thing. And, we even Sean and I talked about this. I was really hard on Ty, on
you really were
Gentry.
You were very aggressive
and on Damian Lillard. I mean, on Alvin Gentry on Sunday. Right. And Sean and I got in this discussion on the pod about, he said you were angry. And I'm like, you know what, man, you just went up against a team that just didn't even try. They didn't want to, you just got beat by a team that's trying to lose. And you had almost your whole team outside of Rashawn Holmes and Damian Jones. But like, that's just unacceptable. Like, show up. And so did I come across as harsh? Maybe a little bit. But at the same time, that's where we are now. You don't get, like, Sacramento media's, even Harrison Barnes said, we're lucky to have you guys as our media group. You guys are, you're a bunch of nice guys. And it's like, yeah, we're nice guys. But at this point, like, you have to be held accountable for the fact that in game 42, you quit. Game 42 is not the game to quit. Game 68, game 72, that's fine. If you're not going to make the playoffs, I'm fine seeing that and seeing you get replaced with young players for the rest of the season. That's okay. Game 42, that to me is disrespectful. And it wasn't just disrespectful to Kings fans watching at home. it was disrespectful to media members. That's disrespectful to not show up for your job and just cash it in. That to me, like, so at this point, we have no choice but to hold them accountable and to, to be blunt in certain situations. And then, in other situations, like ask questions that elicit a different response. Like that's where we're at. And, I don't like being in this position, but that's why I also said on the pod, this is the most disappointing Kings team I've ever covered because they shouldn't be this bad. That's there you could say like this team can't be a 6 seed. This team isn't a contender. You can say a lot of things. This team should not be this bad, Like Sean always says, well, they're about a 500 team. That's what we expected. No, now they're 11 games under 500. That is a cellar dweller lottery team. And by the way, you're not even good at losing. So you're not even going to get to a point where you're a top 3. And this is what, a 4 or 5 man draft at most. Tough.
Tragic.
Hammer, you got to get on the road because you
I
get
do.
to do it all again tonight. You get to do it all again.